The Cedar Hollow auction yard always smelled like sawdust, diesel, and bad decisions. Men in faded denim leaned against corroded rails, spitting tobacco juice and swapping stories that grew taller each time they were told. But on this particular morning, all talk narrowed to a black horse pacing in a pen lined with splintering boards. His name was Midnight Crown, though half the county preferred the nickname Widowmaker. He had thrown wranglers, shattered ribs, and ruined reputations. Folks came from miles away just to watch him fail another rider. Harlow Emberwing Whitlock stood at the edge of the crowd, hands clasped behind her back, watching with a strange calm. Silas Graythorne Ashbourne adjusted his suit collar, the only man in the barn who looked like he belonged in a courthouse instead of a dirt ring. His silver hair, pressed shirt, and polished boots marked him as someone used to control. Yet Midnight Crown was the one animal he could never control, and every eye seemed to know it. Local gossip claimed Silas bought the horse from a man who vanished days later. Other rumors whispered that Midnight Crown came from a ranch out west where someone didn't walk away. Silas ignored the rumors. He had survived his life by pretending not to hear things. Harlow shouldn't have been there. Children didn't last 5 minutes in places like this. But she had something the others lacked: stillness. Her pale hair caught the light filtering through the barn roof, and dust settled over her like a veil. She didn't flinch when Midnight Crown slammed a hoof or when grown men cursed. She just watched, studying every twitch of muscle, every impatient toss of the horse's head. She whispered something without sound, lips moving, but no one close enough caught the word. Henry Pike, the Lilo Arrow, cleared his throat and raised a wooden gavel. "We start at 20,000 for the millionaire's horse," he announced, voice echoing off sheet metal. Laughter rolled through the barn. Men nudged each other, eyes gleaming with cruel humor. 20,000 for a nightmare," someone muttered. But Silas lifted his chin, ready to shut them all up. Then he saw Harlow step forward, small boots crunching straw. She moved between shoulders and elbows, ignoring the stairs, heading straight for the rail. Midnight Crown stopped pacing. Just stopped, like someone froze the frame of a film reel. His ears shot forward, eyes locked on the girl. A ripple of discomfort moved through the barn. Harlow rested her palms lightly on the top rail, her breath steady. She whispered again, and this time Silas heard it. "Stay." It was nothing special, just one soft word, but it hit Silas like a shot. Only one person had ever tamed the horse before, and that person was dead. Someone behind her laughed too loudly. "Put her up there. Let her try." Boots stomped, mock cheers rising. A voice shouted, "Watch her fly." It was supposed to be funny, cruel entertainment for a Saturday crowd. But Silas felt the air tighten around him. Harlow wasn't moving like someone showing off. She was moving like someone who already knew how this would end. Midnight Crown lifted his head, then lowered it again, as if bowing to her. And in that instant, before the shouting got ugly, before Henry Pike slammed the gavel again, Silas realized something he did not want to confront. Someone in this barn had lied about where this horse truly came from, and the girl was about to expose it. The laughter shifted from amusement to discomfort as Harlow Emberwing Whitlock held Midnight Crown's gaze. The barn, moments ago a carnival of jeers, fell into stiff silence. A breeze slipped through warped boards, stirring dust around the girl's boots. She did not smile, did not flinch. Instead, she lifted her small hand as if greeting someone familiar. Silas Graythorne Ashbourne watched with an ache forming in his jaw. He knew the way Midnight Crown behaved when threatened. Ears pinned, teeth bared, weight shifting toward violence. But now the horse looked almost curious. Silas's pulse hammered hard enough to make his collar feel tight. Henry Pike, the Lilo Arrow, tried to reclaim authority. "Step back, girl," he barked, voice cracking in the amplifier. "You don't touch a horse like that." But Harlow didn't hear him, or pretended not to. The barn's crowd had become a wall of eyes. Rough cowboys, church-going families, teenagers in ball caps. All of them leaning forward, hoping to see something break. The horse or the girl. Midnight Crown moved first, but not with rage. He took one slow step toward Harlow, his muzzle dipping just shy of her jacket. A gasp rippled like thunder. Silas's fingers curled around the railing. The memory forced itself forward, unwelcome and uninvited. A woman in a red coat whispering to a different black horse, years before Harlow was born. He had buried that image deep, refused to think of it, refused to speak her name again. But the girl, her voice, her posture, ignited the echo like a burned match. Can't be her, he thought. She's gone. Yet the resemblance knifed through him all the same. Harlow gently touched the bridle leather, and Midnight Crown didn't jerk away. Instead, his body loosened, the tension uncoiling like rope. His eyes softened in a way Silas didn't think possible. Somewhere in the back, a man muttered, "There's no training that explains that." Another swore it had to be witchcraft. Henry Pike was nearly shaking now, torn between yanking the girl out or letting the spectacle sell the horse for more than his name ever could. The crowd fed on unpredictability, but Silas sensed something far less commercial, something personal. The girl whispered again, only one syllable, but Silas recognized the cadence. It was a command taught by someone who never belonged inside barns. Midnight Crown flicked his ears, then lowered his body, shifting in submission. Harlow slid her boot into the stirrup, all hesitation replaced by strange certainty. Gasps erupted. Someone laughed hysterically, unable to handle the wrongness of it. Henry Pike cursed under his breath. Silas's breath caught on a razor edge. No rider had even touched that saddle without being thrown. Harlow pulled herself upward, and the barn seemed to forget how to breathe. She sat centered, collected, as if forming part of the horse rather than conquering him. Midnight Crown lifted his head, testing her weight. Men exchanged stunned glances. Henry Pike lost his voice. Silas pressed a hand to his mouth to hide how shaken he truly was. That girl had killed the auction. No bidder would dare compete now. What mattered was no longer money, spectacle, or rumor. It was the truth burning behind Midnight Crown's eyes. He knew her, and Silas understood, with a dread that hollowed him out, that someone buried in his past was reaching into the present, and that girl was the key. When Harlow Emberwing Whitlock settled fully onto Midnight Crown's back, a soundless tension seized the barn. Even the fluorescent lights above seemed to hum quieter, as though every object had paused to witness the impossible. Boots scuffed against wood, but no one dared speak. The girl's legs barely reached the middle of the saddle, yet she sat like someone who had ridden this horse for years instead of seconds. She leaned forward, whispering something so softly that even Silas Graythorne Ashbourne, standing closest, couldn't hear. The stallion's ears flicked, muscles shifting beneath black hide. Henry Pike lifted his hand like a man approaching a ticking bomb. "Kid, listen," he rasped, voice dry with fear. "You need to get down now." His tone carried something unusual for him, care. He had seen bones break, ribs crack, lives twist off course because of one bad ride. But Harlow didn't look at him. Her eyes stayed locked on the space between the horse's ears, as if seeing a path no one else could. Midnight Crown took a single step forward. Not a lunge, not a buck, just a smooth, deliberate movement. The crowd collectively inhaled. Silas's throat tightened. Memories clawed through him, uninvited, unstoppable. A different barn, a different auction, a woman with pale hair whispering in the same cadence Harlow used now. Her name lodged like splintered wood in his mind. Rowena. She had spoken to animals like Harlow did, quietly, confidently, like she was reminding them of something they already knew. And Rowena had died because someone thought her talent was a threat. Silas blinked hard, forcing the memory away, but his heart hammered a rhythm he hated. Recognition mixed with guilt. A sudden commotion at the edge of the ring snapped everyone's focus. Gideon Wick Tombwater, long beard tangled with straw, leaned over the fence, eyes blazing. "Don't you see it?" he hissed to no one in particular. "That horse remembers." Those words twisted through the barn like smoke. Harlow heard them. Something in her posture shifted. Midnight Crown's tail flicked once, slow and thoughtful, as if confirming the declaration. The animal took another step, hooves clicking with eerie gentleness against the hard-packed dirt. The barn erupted with overlapping opinions. "She's gonna die. Don't interfere. Let her ride. That horse is cursed." The noise crashed like waves against the moment. Henry Pike slammed the gavel down, trying to regain order, but control was gone. Midnight Crown turned his head slightly, gaze sweeping the crowd, then returned to Harlow, staying perfectly calm. Silas felt the weight of truth descend in pieces. The girl wasn't lucky. She wasn't fearless. She knew something hidden about this horse's past, something no one had dared speak aloud. Harlow tightened her grip on the reins, not to pull or dominate, but just to connect. Midnight Crown lifted his front hoof and took another step, then another. The barn watched, breathless, as the girl prepared to guide him toward the open gate. Henry Pike sputtered, unsure whether to stop her or let destiny work its course. And Silas realized, with a sinking dread, that if Midnight Crown made it out of this pen under her control, long-buried secrets would claw their way into daylight. Secrets that could ruin him, even destroy him, if anyone asked the right questions. Midnight Crown walked toward the gate with slow, measured certainty, and Harlow Emberwing Whitlock sat upright, hands steady on the reins. It wasn't skill, it was familiarity, as if she were remembering an old rhythm her body already understood. The stallion stopped just short of the exit, waiting. The crowd surged closer, eyes gleaming with fascination and dread. Henry Pike looked ready to collapse, wiping sweat from his brow despite the cool air in the barn. "Get her down," he muttered, but no one moved. Curiosity, stronger than fear, froze every capable hand. Silas Graythorne Ashbourne forced himself to breathe. He stepped over a coil of rope and approached the gate cautiously, as if nearing an unstable explosive. "Harlow," he said, trying to sound calm. "Slide down." Slowly. She turned her head just enough to show she heard him, but her gaze remained fixed on the stallion's ears. Midnight Crown shifted his weight, sensing Silas like he sensed thunder. Harlow reached forward and patted his neck. The horse's muscles relaxed again, unnatural and alarming. "He knows me," she whispered. A low voice answered from behind the bleachers. "He doesn't know you. He remembers someone else." Gideon Wick Tombwater stepped forward, his boots silent on the dirt, eyes nearly fever-bright. People recoiled away from him. Gideon was a local oddity, part historian, part problem, always digging up truths nobody wanted revealed. "Years ago," he continued, "a woman spoke to that horse the same way, a woman with pale hair and a red coat." Silas froze. There it was, the memory wearing flesh again. He wanted to shout at Gideon to stop, but he couldn't form words. Henry Pike caught the tension and grew nervous. "Enough old ghost stories," he barked. But Gideon ignored him. He looked right at Silas. "Rowena Whitlock," he said. The name landed like a hammer. People glanced between Harlow and Silas with dawning comprehension. Harlow blinked, stunned. She had heard whispers at home about an aunt no one mentioned, someone whose photograph had been torn out of every album. And now the name floated inside her chest, heavy with meaning she couldn't process. Silas stepped forward, voice shaking with control rather than fear. "Don't bring her up," he warned, low and dangerous. Gideon raised his hands as if surrendering. Too late. The horse remembers. Midnight Crown flicked his ears again, turning his head to look straight at Silas with an expression that felt hauntingly aware. Harlow's hands tightened around the reins. It wasn't coincidence. It was inheritance. Whether she wanted it or not, she'd stepped into someone else's unfinished story. Henry Pike pointed at the open gate, desperate to end whatever this was becoming. "Ride him once around and get it out of your system," he snapped. But Harlow didn't move, and neither did Midnight Crown. A cold certainty washed over Silas then, settling in his bones. If that girl took the horse beyond the barn walls, buried truths and betrayed promises would climb out of the dirt, and there were people in Cedar Hollow who would do anything to keep that from happening. Midnight Crown's front hoof scraped the packed dirt, a slow, deliberate motion that sounded like a warning. The barn doors on the far end stood open, letting in a stripe of late afternoon light that made the dust glow gold. Harlow Emberwing Whitlock could feel the energy shift beneath her, like a storm gathering inside the horse's ribs. She glanced at Silas Graythorne Ashbourne, trying to read his face, but he looked carved from stone. Henry Pike, red-faced now, pointed frantically. "Do something, Silas. Stop her." But Silas didn't move toward the girl. He stepped closer to the gate instead, as if preparing for impact. The crowd parted unconsciously when Midnight Crown finally moved. One step, then another. Each hoofbeat echoed through the barn, slow and certain. Harlow felt her heart match the rhythm, an impossible blend of terror and belonging. She didn't kick or yank the reins. She let the horse choose. Gideon Wick Tombwater watched with wild eyes. "He's testing her," he muttered. "He wants to know if she's the same." Harlow didn't understand, but somehow the words didn't feel wrong. Midnight Crown's breath warmed her hands, and she whispered without thinking, "I won't let go." Silas remembered Rowena Whitlock's last ride. Not many knew the truth. People assumed she fell or that something spooked the horse. But Silas had seen the papers, heard the threats, watched her family tear apart over rumors and land disputes. Rowena had been brave, yes, but she had also been hunted. When Gideon spoke her name earlier, something inside Silas cracked open. And now, seeing Harlow repeating the same unexplainable bond, dread seeped through him like ice water. He stepped toward Midnight Crown, hand raised to grab the reins, but the horse shifted away with calm precision, protecting the girl. Gasps erupted when Midnight Crown reached the open barn doorway. The light framed the pair in bright outline, the girl and the black stallion suspended at the threshold of Cedar Hollow. Outside, the gravel lot stretched toward ranch fencing and a flat prairie beyond. Henry Pike shouted, "If she rides out, I'm calling the sheriff." But no one believed his threat. They were all too mesmerized by the unfolding spectacle. Something about watching the horse obey this child made the world inside the barn feel smaller, older, like a secret story retelling itself after years of silence. "Wait!" Eleanor Hale appeared from behind a stack of hay bales, hair streaked with dust, breathing hard. She had been searching through auction paperwork, and now she held a manila envelope like it might burst into flames. "Silas," she said, voice breaking, "you need to see this." Silas didn't take his eyes off Harlow. "Not now." But Eleanor shoved the envelope into his chest. "Yes, now." He opened it and his shoulders dropped. Inside were documents stamped, "Property transfer, Whitlock family." Midnight Crown hadn't been sold. He'd been returned. Harlow didn't know about paperwork or property laws. She felt only the warmth of the horse beneath her, steady and solid. Midnight Crown shifted again, lowering his head as if signaling a direction known only to them. Then, with no command spoken, he stepped into the sunlight, and the entire barn lurched forward, shouting, scrambling, desperate to follow. Silas realized something horrifying. Whatever destiny Rowena began, Harlow was about to finish, and there were people ready to stop her at any cost. Midnight Crown's hooves clicked against gravel as Harlow Emberwing Whitlock rode into the sunlight, leaving Cedar Hollow auction yard behind her. The air outside tasted different, sharper, cleaner, laced with sage and distant rain. The stallion moved with controlled power, like he had known this route long before she was born. People spilled out of the barn's doors, boots slamming against wood, shouting for someone to stop her. But no one stepped forward. They could watch history repeat or break, but they wouldn't interfere. Silas Graythorne Ashbourne emerged last, clutching the manila envelope Eleanor Hale had forced into his hands, his face pale as beach sand. Harlow didn't look back. Something guided her, not memory, not instinct, but presence. Each hoofbeat felt like a name whispered beneath her ribs. She remembered the word Gideon Wick Tombwater had said, Rowena. It echoed in her mind as the wind caught strands of her pale hair. Midnight Crown slowed near a split-rail fence marked with an old, almost illegible brand burned into the wood. Silas recognized it instantly. The Whitlock family seal, long buried under dust and denial. She's going where the horse came from, Gideon growled, hurrying after them. Inside the barn, Eleanor Hale laid documents across a feed table. Henry Pike hovered beside her, torn between anger and fascination. "Explain," he demanded. Eleanor pointed to dates. Midnight Crown wasn't auctioned. He was reclaimed. The transfer happened 6 months ago, before Rowena's death was officially closed. Henry leaned in, eyes squinting at signatures. "Silas signed this," he muttered. "But that name here, who's B.L. Whitlock?" Eleanor swallowed hard. "That," she said, "is Harlow's father." Henry stepped back as if struck. Outside, Silas caught up to Harlow by the fence. His voice sounded raw when he spoke. "You need to dismount." Harlow shook her head. "He's showing me." Midnight Crown lowered his massive head toward a rusted gate latch, sniffing at it like recognizing an old scent. Silas reached for the reins, but the horse moved away again, gently but decisively. "That's Whitlock land," Silas said, pointing beyond the fence. "It was taken. Wrongfully." His voice broke on the last word, something old and ugly surfacing. Gideon pushed past him, eyes gleaming. "Stolen," he corrected. A pickup truck roared to life at the far end of the property as someone who'd stayed silent in the barn now decided to take action. Dust shot into the air. Harlow jerked in the saddle, eyes widening as she recognized the man behind the wheel. Dalton Redwater Crick, a Whitlock rival since long before she was born. Silas cursed under his breath. Dalton's family had tried to buy Midnight Crown for months, claiming legal ties no one could prove. Harlow pressed her hand closer to the horse's neck. Midnight Crown shifted, eyes glinting like polished coal. Dalton's truck barreled toward the fence with vicious speed. Gideon shouted, "Get back!" But Harlow didn't move. Silas stepped forward, arms raised to wave the truck down. Tires screamed across gravel. Dust exploded. Midnight Crown reared once, towering, casting a shadow across the fence line. And Harlow knew, without being told, that whatever was buried on Whitlock land wasn't just property, paperwork, or ownership. It was a truth someone was willing to crash a truck to keep hidden. Dalton Redwater Crick's pickup skidded sideways in a blast of gravel, stopping inches from the old Whitlock fence. The engine rattled, headlights glaring at Harlow Emberwing Whitlock like a predator's eyes. For a second, nobody moved. Gideon Wick Tombwater dove behind a barrel, cursing, while Silas Graythorn Ashbourne stepped in front of the horse on instinct. "Stay back!" he shouted. But Dalton just leaned out the window, cigarette hanging from his lips, eyes mean and wild. "That animal ain't yours," he growled. "Never was." Midnight Crown stamped a hoof so hard the ground vibrated, pushing Harlow's heartbeat into her throat. She tightened her grip on the reins, terrified but refusing to show it. Dalton spat on the ground, wiping his mouth with his sleeve. "Your daddy signed away this land," he called out. "Signed away the horse. Signed away everything." Silas's hands balled into fists. "B.L. Whitlock never sold a thing," he answered. "He died before he could." Dalton smirked, cruel satisfaction flickering in his eyes. "Dead men still owe debts." The words hit Harlow like cold water. Her father's name had always been a whisper, never a sentence spoken aloud with meaning. Eleanor Hale and Henry Pike came rushing from the barn, the envelope of documents clutched tight in Eleanor's hand. "We have records," she yelled. Dalton revved the engine in response. "Records don't mean anything out here," he said. "Only fences and who's willing to defend them." Gideon stood, brushing dirt from his jacket, voice rising. "This isn't about property," he said. "It's about what Rowena tried to expose." Silas shot him a deadly look, but Gideon kept going. Something on this land was hidden, and that horse saw it. Harlow's stomach twisted. She didn't understand half of what they were saying, but she felt every ounce of fear in the air. Midnight Crown shifted beneath her, muscles taut. "Ready." She leaned forward and whispered the word she had spoken inside the barn. That same soft command, "Stay." The horse listened. Dalton slammed his door open and stepped out, one hand reaching into the truck. Silas surged forward, blocking Dalton's view of Harlow. "Don't," Silas warned. Dalton paused, eyes narrowing. "You think this is about the girl?" he asked quietly. "It's about what her bloodline remembers." The wind kicked up, rattling the fence boards. Eleanor flipped open one of the documents and froze. "Silas," she whispered, voice shaking. "Look at this signature." Silas glanced down and felt everything leave his body. Rowena's signature, Rowena Whitlock, was right next to Dalton's father's name on a deed transfer document that had never been filed with the county. Henry Pike stared, dumbstruck. "Why hide this?" he breathed. Dalton's answer cut through the air. "Because she found something buried on this land. Something that would ruin every name on that paper." Midnight Crown snorted, ears flicking toward the far end of the pasture like he remembered the exact spot. And Harlow knew with terrifying clarity that whatever was hidden wasn't going to stay buried much longer. Not with the horse leading her straight to it. Midnight Crown turned sharply away from Dalton Redwater Crick's truck, hooves grinding against gravel. The stallion stared toward a patch of land beyond the Whitlock fence, a clearing overgrown with weeds, choked by briars and sunken soil. Harlow Emberwing Whitlock felt something shift through the reins, like a pulse traveling from the earth into the horse, then up into her hands. She nudged him forward instinctively. Silas Graythorne Ashbourne stepped to block her path, but Midnight Crown brushed past him, slow yet unrelenting. "Let him," Gideon Wick Tombwater whispered, wide-eyed. "He knows." Dalton followed on foot, boots crunching broken glass from his truck's headlight. His voice lowered, less rage now, more something like dread. "Don't go near that clearing," he called. Harlow looked down at him, surprised to hear fear instead of anger. Dalton swallowed hard. "Something's buried there, and it ain't what you think." Eleanor Hale moved closer, gripping the deed papers. "Rowena tried to tell someone," she said. "Letters, phone calls." Nobody listened. Henry Pike, usually the loudest man in any auction barn, stood silent, gaze fixed on the uneven ground as if the earth itself might speak. Midnight Crown stopped at the edge of a long-forgotten fence post. Sunlight hit the metal just right and revealed something carved there. Initials. Harlow leaned closer, heart pounding. "RW," her voice caught. "Rowena Whitlock," she whispered. Silas's breath shuddered. He hadn't come to that part of the property in years. "She marked this," Gideon said, kneeling to brush away dried weeds. "A warning or a map?" Dalton kicked at the dirt, agitation rising. "You don't dig. You hear me? You don't dig anything up." His desperation felt too real to ignore. Silas, clutching the deed papers, crouched beside Gideon. "Rowena sent this to the county office," Eleanor murmured, pointing to a date. "But nobody recorded it. Someone stopped it." Dalton spat. "Someone saved this town from a scandal." Gideon stared hard at him. "Or someone kept a crime hidden." Midnight Crown shifted his weight, striking the ground with his hoof once, twice. The sound echoed with eerie precision, like knocking. Harlow slid off the saddle, boots landing softly on brittle grass. Silas moved toward her, hands outstretched. "Harlow, stay close," he said, but she was already kneeling by the post. She brushed away dirt until something solid scraped her fingertips. Wood, buried beneath soil, rotted but intact. Eleanor knelt beside her, pulling tufts of grass aside. More wood, more carved initials. A box, a marker. Dalton shook his head violently. "Stop!" But his voice lacked force now. Midnight Crown exhaled a deep, unsettling breath and lowered his head beside Harlow's shoulder, as if urging her forward. Silas touched the ground too, his palms trembling over earth that felt strangely warm. When the first corner of the buried board came free, a thin metallic glint flashed beneath it. Gideon's face went pale. "That's not just wood," he whispered. "That's steel." Dalton backed away, steps unsteady. The ground smelled faintly of rust and rain. Harlow felt something long overdue rising toward daylight. Midnight Crown pawed again, precise, pushing soil aside. and Silas realized, horrified, that whatever Rowena had marked wasn't just evidence. It was a story buried alive, waiting to erupt in all their faces the second they dared lift it. The buried metal was cold to the touch, colder than soil should ever be in late afternoon sun. Harlow Emberwing Whitlock traced her fingers along its surface, finding grooves cut with purpose. Midnight Crown pawed once more, snorting, as if impatient for someone to finally act. Gideon Wick Tombwater crouched beside Harlow, eyes burning behind his tangled beard. "This isn't a box," he muttered. "It's a plate, a cover." Eleanor Hale leaned close, brushing dirt away with trembling hands. "A cover for what?" she whispered. Gideon's answer came out like a prayer and a curse. Something Rowena didn't want the county to bury. Silas Graythorne Ashbourne pressed his palm against the metal, feeling its unnatural chill. Memories assaulted him. Rowena standing right here, whispering instructions he never understood, telling him, "Watch the land. When it breathes, follow the horse." He had chalked it up to grief, to fear. But now, staring at this impossible thing, he understood it had been neither. Dalton Redwater Crick backed away slowly, eyes darting to the darkening horizon. "Stop now," he pleaded, voice cracking. "You don't want what's under there." Harlow looked up from the ground, face streaked with dirt. "Then why hide it?" Henry Pike, ever practical, grabbed a crowbar from Dalton's truck bed. "Move back," he said, voice steady but low. "If this plate comes up, we all see it at once." Eleanor handed him a pair of leather gloves, and for a moment, everyone formed an uneasy circle around the steel, like mourners around a grave they didn't expect. Henry wedged the crowbar under the edge and pushed. The metal groaned, earth resisting. Midnight Crown took a step backward, flanks twitching. Something beneath the plate released a faint, stale smell. Not rot, not decay, but time. Old time. With a final grunt, Henry pried the corner free. A rush of cold air burst from below, wrong in a way that made everyone recoil. Silas grabbed Harlow's shoulder protectively. Beneath the plate, faint lettering appeared, etched in uneven strokes across a rusted surface. Eleanor leaned in, reading the words aloud. "Whitlock Holdings, 1978. Do not open." Gideon shook his head. "Rowena didn't carve that," he said. "That was made before she was born." Dalton's face drained of color. "My father knew," he whispered. "He knew exactly what was buried here." Harlow pushed closer. Beneath the warning plate, rows of sealed metal containers were stacked, numbering in the dozens. Each one bore a stamped label and a signature, B.L. Whitlock, her father's name. The air thickened with shock. Silas's voice cracked when he spoke. "Those are contracts, deeds, maybe evidence." Dalton slammed his fist against a fence post. "Evidence of what?" Gideon answered before anyone else could. "Of who really owned Cedar Hollow, who really owned this horse, and who paid to silence the truth." Midnight Crown lifted his head and stared toward the barn, ears pinned, sensing movement. Tires on gravel, voices, flashing lights in the distance, sheriff vehicles closing in. Eleanor whispered, "Someone called them." Henry cursed under his breath. Silas reached for Harlow's hand as the sound grew louder, oppressive. "The second they see this," he said, voice tight, "no one in Cedar Hollow will ever be safe again." Midnight Crown pawed the ground once, impatient, urgent, as if urging them to choose. And Harlow realized in that pulsing moment that whatever happened next would destroy someone, maybe more than one. The sheriff cruisers rolled into the gravel lot, sirens dead but lights rotating blue over the broken ground. Harlow Emberwing Whitlock felt Midnight Crown tense beside her, muscles hard as cable under her palm. Silas Graythorne Ashbourne stepped between the metal cache and the approaching deputies, trying to school his expression into calm. Eleanor Hale folded the deed papers quickly, as if she could hide years of corruption inside a single manila envelope. Gideon Wick Tombwater simply stared at the uncovered plate and whispered, "Well, it's out." Dalton Redwater Crick looked suddenly small, cornered, stripped of swagger. Sheriff Orion Husk Merrick approached, hat low over his brow, a man built from duty and complicity. "What's going on here?" he asked, voice neutral but eyes scanning everything. Henry Pike tried to step forward, but Silas raised a hand. "Trespassing," Silas said evenly. "Property dispute." The sheriff's gaze stopped on the steel plate. "What's that?" Silas opened his mouth, but Dalton cut in, voice cracked with panic. "Evidence," he said. "Evidence people risked their lives to bury." Gideon let out a low whistle. "That's the smartest thing you've said all day." The deputies circled the site, peering into the ground like men looking into a wound. Eleanor Hale stepped forward, voice steady. "These containers are signed by B.L. Whitlock," she said, lifting the top document. "And they were never filed. There's land here that never legally changed hands. There are mineral rights, water rights." Sheriff Merrick exhaled slowly, understanding settling on his face like a sentence. "If any of that's true," he said, "this town changes." Silas finally spoke, voice heavy. "Rowena tried to show someone years ago. They silenced her." Harlow watched the sheriff's eyes change at the name. Dalton staggered toward the steel plate. "You don't get it," he said, voice broken, shaking his head. "My father, he buried this to protect us." Gideon barked a laugh. "Protect who?" "Not the Whitlocks." Midnight Crown took a step forward then, drawing every eye. Harlow placed her palm to his neck, feeling that steady, ancient presence. In a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "He brought us here." Everyone went quiet, listening. Even the sheriff seemed to wait. The horse's ears flicked toward another direction. Toward the barn, toward the town beyond it, as if pointing at history still crawling through Cedar Hollow. Sheriff Merrick radioed for backup, then looked at Silas. "We're going to need statements. Real ones, not rumors." Silas nodded, the weight of decades finally lifting just enough for him to stand straighter. Eleanor squeezed Harlow's shoulder. "You changed everything," she murmured. Harlow didn't know if that was praise or warning. Midnight Crown lowered his head to the earth once more, calm now that the plates were exposed. As deputies taped off the site, Gideon leaned in close enough for only Harlow to hear. "Rowena didn't fail," he whispered. "She left a trail, one only her blood could follow." Harlow looked at the metal containers, the carved initials, the sheriff's lights flashing over everything like a reckoning. She pressed her face into Midnight Crown's mane, breathing in dust and truth. Cedar Hollow would never be quiet again.